to my kitchen, and I recently had to make a scrapbook for my mom. One of the girls that she works with has left, and she was wanting to do a little scrapbook as a remembrance for her to take with her. She worked for the company for some time, and everybody really liked the girl, so my mom asked me would I make one for her. So I made one for her, and I wanted to show you what I made, just to share what I do in my spare time. I'm going to call it that. But this is what I did. I constructed this album out of chipboard from scratch. I made this from scratch. So it is like a binder, like a 3-ring binder. The spine has 3 binder rings, and there's just a little ribbon embellishment there. I hand pleated this box pleat trim myself, and then my mom wanted me to make it simple. In fact, I gave it to her and she was a little upset because it was a little more ornate than she would like it. So I brought it home and I fixed it. So this is the end result of the book. And I kind of went with a black, white, and teal or turquoise theme. And the reason I wanted to say the reason we're at the kitchen counter is because the lighting over at the kitchen table is not so good today. So I wanted the natural light, and I thought this might be the best place to do it. But anyway, I used a lot of, if you see a little iridescence on here, those of you who are crafters will know what this is. It's Lindy's Stamp Gang, and I used, and I'm not going to remember the names, but I used a scintillating silver, I used a gold color, I used a turquoise, and in some cases I used a hottie patootie hot pink. But I love the Lindy Stamp Gang sprays. They're amazing. The paper that I used for the entire book was the Die Cuts with a View Street Lace book. I used almost an entire book constructing this album. These butterflies I cut out on my Cricut, and then I distressed with the Lindy Stamp Gang. I think I used a copper color on this one, and then just a little bling. A lot of the cutouts you see in here I cut on my Cricut. But these cards I printed out on my computer, and then I distressed the edges with Tim Holtz Distress ink, and I believe I used the brushed corduroy for the entire project. This can be used for a journaling card, or you can put a photo on the back. And then this is a little photo folder, a little folio that I made. I made these throughout the album, and then you can fit pictures in here or do journaling or any number of things. But there's a lot of opportunities to put photos in this book. Here's another.
It's interactive.
It's a very interactive album. Everything I make is like this. I did a ton of stamping. These are vintage prints. I printed out a ton of things on my inkjet printer, and then I distressed the edges. This is a lot of the things you see in here I've printed out, like these old seed labels I printed out. They can be used for journaling cards. Here's an old botanical print of butterflies. It's from an insect encyclopedia. You know, all of these little vintage prints I just love. I have a vast library of vintage and Victorian prints. There's a shipping tag that I stamped and distressed. And then she is on the front cover as well. I always like to put one on the inside. That can be used as a journaling card. And there's a photo mat. You can just plop a picture right on there, and then you can write on the back of it. But there's a lot of opportunities for photos, lots of opportunities for journaling, and that's the name of the game when you're doing an album like this. And then I constructed these pockets. I made the whole thing from scratch, basically. And I love this. This actually came in a packet of K & Company botanical designs that I just love. And these, I made a couple of these. These folios are made out of little paper bags. You see that's a tiny little paper bag there. We just made a little book that you could put a picture or do some journaling. And there's a little bit of glue there that doesn't want to help me out. And then this can be used as a little folder, which has a little couple more. There's a vintage postcard that can be used for journaling as well. A vintage seed packet, old bingo card, and another photo mat. It's another jumbo shipping tag with a little bird's nest on it. Another one of those journaling cards or photo mats. You can put a photo on the back of this, it'll be great. And these are K & Company stickers. They're 3-dimensional stickers with acetate on them, and they're really, really cool. And as you can see, I kind of went with the whole botanical vintage bird and butterfly theme. And I just threw in some of these old vintage things, like this old vintage postcard. These I printed out on craft style paper and ran it through my inkjet printer. And this is a vintage print. Here's a photo folio, which is not a pocket folder, but you can still put 2 4x6 photos in there and do a little journaling. I stamped the outside with some really bright color inks. And then that's just an extra photo card. And I just love this whole idea. Another shipping tag that I stamped with a hummingbird. I love this. Is a vintage, a old Victorian Valentine. Again, it can be used as a journaling card. Here's another folio folder that I printed out some antique ledger paper on some ecru cardstock, and I did the distressed stamp on there, and then I sprayed it so it looks all blotchy. And that may not be your cup of tea, but that's my cup of tea. I just love it. And then I used the remaining pieces of that ledger paper on the inside, and I did some random prints. And like this one, it's inspirational. In dreams we catch glimpses of life larger than our own. And again, this can be used for photos or for journaling. You could put anything in here, you know. The Victorians really kind of mastered the art of scrapbooking, and we've kind of been expounding on that from that point forward. They kept everything, every little snip and scrap that they could get their hands on. They put it in a book, and it was a wonderful collection of memories at the end of the day, so that when they got older, they could look back on those and have those memories. This I love. This is an old merit certificate for good conduct, and it would be something that the student would get from the teacher. This is an old Victorian print, and you can see copyright 1876 down here in the corner, and I just love that. And that's just another photo folio that I made that you can use. I hope my mom likes this. I think I took it to her. I think she was a little shocked the first time she saw it, so I kind of toned it down a little. Another folio. Molly loves this. Is one of her favorite ones. This doesn't have anything special. It's just a piece that I folded in half that you can use as a place to put a couple of extra photos. There's another piece of ledger paper, and I just love the way this looks. There's something about it for me. I think that I must have lived in that time, and it's something that is comfortable for me. And that's just a jumbo shipping tag that can be actually 4x6 photo will fit on that. You can journal on the back side. It's just fun. And all these, like I said, I cut these out on my Cricut, and I cut them out in white. I background stamped with this music note pattern, and then I sprayed it with the turquoise Lindy Stamp Gang spray. I just love it. Did the same thing down here. It's a little schmutzy because my spray glue, I use spray glue for these finer details, got a little smushed. Okay, little lace. There's a little vellum sticker here. I'm going all over the place, sorry, hon. And just some more of the vintage scraps for photo cards and journaling. There's a jumbo shipping tag. Looks like an antique postcard. I just love those. They're so cool. And just another mat, a photo mat. And then the person who's receiving this hopefully will have room to put more of her own things in here. An old vintage seed packet label, an old vintage farm store receipt, a shipping tag that I stamped a dragonfly on, and then here's another folio with little ledger paper, a vintage French seed packet, and then you open it up, and here's a couple more. This one actually is folded in half, and you can open that up. And there's a butterfly, and then another piece of ledger paper. I really had a lot of fun making this. I will say that I don't work well under pressure when I'm creating. I like to take my time, and my mom wanted this in a big hurry. And then it turned out that it sat in her house for a month, and she gave it back to me so I could do this video, and I was kind of irritated by that. But that's that. I printed out the music paper on my printer, and then I put this piece of paper back in the printer, and I overlaid this bicycle print over the top of it, and I just love the way that looks. This, you can put a 4x6 piece picture on the back or on the front, and you can journal on the back, whatever's your preference. Here's another little paper bag folio with this really adorable little vintage photo from like the 20s of this little girl who's dressed up like a special fairy, and I think that is so cool. I overlaid the inside with a piece of that vintage ledger paper, and then we just have a little vintage print of a swan postcard in the pocket. And I apologize if this is long and boring, you know, but I want to share this.
Yeah, Molly filmed this for you.
Again, more scraps, little owl, another shipping tag that I printed, I stamped, and another folio. This is a folder folio. And then lots more vintage scraps in there. And all the pages, you know, it's a similar deal. They either have a folder folio or a pocket folio. And more vintage scraps. I will save you the boringness of all of this. But
all I know is I'm missing NASCAR.
I'm so sorry, honey. Not really. Okay, so. Here's another shipping tag. I love these shipping tags, and this is what I use when I make my Christmas tags. I start with those shipping tags, and it's really a lot of fun. Old bingo cards are another favorite. There's that bird's nest again. I use that throughout, along with those pieces of ledger paper, because I just think they're really cool. And again, all the things that you see that are scrappy looking like this, I've printed out on either white or ecru or off-white cardstock on my inkjet printer, and you know, just cut them out. There's just another plain folio that I stamped on the front. Lots and lots of opportunity. This is one of Molly's favorites here. I love, love, love this recolored Victorian photo. It's just a lot of fun. And then, like I said, some of these, I've made these that fold in half, and they're like little folders inside the folder. And really, your imagination is your only limit when you do things like this. This is the one Molly loves so much. This is just a plain photo folder. And I love this paper. I actually just took this plain paper here that has a very mild pattern on it, and I stamped the front with the butterflies, and then I overlaid it with a center like that. And then I love this as an old library card that has the old writing on it, and you know, they don't use these anymore, and I think that it's just sad. And there are maybe some systems that still use those library cards, but I don't think they use library cards anymore. There's an old shipping tag that I distressed, and I stamped that. I love that stamp of the key and the lock.
When was the last time you checked a book out of the library?
The last time I checked a book out of the library? Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. I buy my books because I can't bear to get rid of them after I read them. Just more folios, folders.
We need a credit card nowadays.
You probably do. And there's another one. I just love the graphic elements of this one. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually sprayed that with a gold iridescent spray. And again, we're almost to the end, I promise. Oh. Hello. Alright, this is the last page. This is the back cover. And then these, I just adore these. Yeah. This is a folio that opens up like that. And I love this ink that I can print on the black, and it really shows up. And that's pretty much it. There's the back cover. And this is my tag. Mockingbird Designs is the name of my, my alter ego. I'm Noreen, Noreen's Kitchen, but then when I create something, it's Mockingbird Designs. And, that goes right along with the whole Atticus 9799 being my channel name, because any of you who know me understand that my channel name is derived from Atticus of Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, which is my favorite book of all time, and quite honestly, I believe the finest piece of American literature ever written. And you can disagree with me, that's okay. But I challenge you to find a finer piece of art, of work, written now or then, because I don't think, Tally's standing behind Rick. I personally don't think that there is ever going to be a story that's quite as compelling as the story of Atticus Finch and his daughter, Scout. So, anyway, I just wanted to share my album with you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too long and boring. I hope that you didn't watch the whole thing if you thought it was long and boring. So, thank you for indulging me. And until next time, I'll see you.